Boring, uninspired, and recycled. These three words can be used to sum up a good chunk of the NBA jerseys since Nike took over the creation of them from Adidas back in 2017. While Adidas was by no means perfect during their time at the head of the table, Nike has made modern day NBA uniforms a soulless cash grab that is in desperate need of a total rehaul. Aside from the horrible changes to the structure of the jerseys, Nike has oversaturated the market with an endless amount of new uniforms, which not only results in a ton of poor designs, but also makes it nearly impossible for jerseys to be cemented as a classic in the years going forward. So let's take a look at what Nike is doing so poorly and why I'm afraid of the long-term effects of their strategy. This first point may be a bit nitpicky and random, but it's bothered me so much for the last 5 years. There isn't much you can structurally change when it comes to designing a basketball jersey, but Nike wanted to do what they could to make their spin on NBA uniforms stand out. While players went on the record and said that they loved the new lighter and more comfortable jerseys, they also had these weird flaps run over the back of them just under the shoulder. Ever since the first time I laid my eyes on these in 2017, I absolutely hated this and I'm still pissed that they're around to this day. If you ask me, it looks like a shitty version of a knockoff jersey from AliExpress that had a factory defect. Now, I've seen people online say that the feature was added to get rid of the collar around the underarm since it sometimes caused chafing. If that was the case, then why didn't they just remove the collar from the entire back of the jersey? Instead, they awkwardly kept some of it around for no reason. It looks horrible, and I really wish they would change it going forward. On to my next point, and maybe the biggest issue when it comes to Nike, is how they feel like they need to pump out new jerseys every single year. Previously, most NBA teams followed a general rule of their home jerseys being white, the road jerseys being a team color, and maybe one potential alternate that was on brand with the general look and feel of the team's branding. But once Nike took over, they switched up that format. Instead of 2 primary jerseys and a potential third, there are now a mandatory 4 jerseys that each team has to wear throughout the season. The association jerseys are the home whites, the icon jerseys are the aways, and then there are the statement and city jerseys as well. While Nike claims that they want to use these 2 additional designs to properly represent the teams and cities that each franchise plays in, we all know that's BS. The real reason they do this is because they know that the more jersey variations they have, the more money they'll make. Just like bad sports games that come out every year, Nike knows that the most loyal fans will buy anything new if it means supporting their team. When you can reliably count on a new look for fans and collectors to scoop up every year, it's certainly worth the time and effort that comes with making these new jerseys, even though they come with some major downsides. The most obvious negative with all of these variations is that designs are bound to suffer at some point. It's hard enough to come up with something new that fans will resonate with just once, but multiple times every year is simply too much, which causes the final product to suffer. To start, let's take a look at the Utah Jazz. It was announced that they were getting an entirely new set of uniforms for this season, with the headline being the return of their purple 90s uniform that has a great logo, intricate detail, and a beautiful color scheme. And then we got the other 3. It's almost offensive to put those uniforms from the 90s next to the new ones that Nike designed for them this year. I mean, just look at these. They have to be some of the blandest uniforms I've ever seen across all sports. There is literally nothing eye-catching about them at all, and the font they chose could not be less boring. Simply nothing memorable about them in any way. It's one thing when a historic franchise like the Celtics or Lakers have a simpler uniform due to the tradition of them being created 75 years ago, but the Jazz really did a total rebrand in 2022 and decided that rolling out practice jerseys would be what made people want to buy them. I find it so strange that some nights they're going to be playing with some of the nicest uniforms in the league, and then the very next be playing in something that seems like it was made in about 15 minutes. But the Jazz aren't the only team playing in new ugly uniforms this year. Let's move on to the Cleveland Cavaliers, who got 3 new jersey designs this season as well. First of all, this black jersey is not new. They literally took the black design from a few years ago, made the collars black, and pushed the number off to the side a bit. This white one is fine. Even though it's just a reskin of an old Cavs logo, it does look new since we've never seen it on a white jersey though. But this wine-colored one, just like the other 3 Utah jerseys, is just painfully boring. Once again, there is no unique designer logo of any kind, just a monotone Cleveland across the chest. It says here that they hired this guy, Daniel Arsham, as the creative director, and he specifically helped with the team's uniform and lettering. How are teams bringing in artists with the specific task of optimizing their jerseys and this is the end result? I just don't get it. And while we're on the topic of bad designs, the new City Edition jerseys were just announced, and what the is this Warriors one? They have this rose on the bottom half of the jersey, but when these are tucked in during a game, we won't even be able to see the bulk of the design. So why is it even there? Stuff like this just makes no sense to me. And I really think the only reason they get approved is because it means they can essentially punt on this year's design and get ready for next year's. That's the only reason I can rationalize something like this being released. Teams are gradually going to lose brand recognition if they don't ever spend more than a couple of years with a certain logo and color scheme. While I do think it's good to a degree that Nike is willing to experiment, a ton of these ideas blend over from team to team. So even when there is a good idea, its significance is diminished since someone else is inevitably going to make something that resembles it as well. A perfect example of this is the whole light blue jersey trend that we've seen in recent years. In the span of just 5 seasons, the Chicago Bulls, Atlanta Hawks, Brooklyn Nets, Miami Heat, Houston Rockets, Memphis Grizzlies, LA Clippers, Sacramento Kings, and Minnesota Timberwolves have all had a variation of a predominantly light blue uniform of some sort. And as I was editing this video, the Spurs, Suns, and Blazers all announced light blue uniforms for this year as well. My only question is why? They'll of course try to spin some sort of cultural significance behind it, but there is literally no reason that teams like Phoenix and Portland, who have primary colors of purple and red, to be wearing anything that's light blue. A team uniform should make players stand out and easily recognizable. But lately, everything seems to be blending together. When James Harden got traded in 2021, he went from wearing a light blue alternate for the Rockets to wearing a light blue alternate for the Nets. This year shows the lack of diversity from team to team and how quickly things get ran into the ground. The main reason that teams like the Knicks, Celtics, and Lakers have such iconic jerseys is that they've given them time to become synonymous with their franchise. It means something to wear those uniforms because legends from each era put it on and made memories with them. But Nike isn't concerned about making anything iconic or long-lasting, because that means less annual revenue for them. This brings me to my last and most crucial point. The fact that this new policy won't let any of their diamonds in the rough stay around long term. Even when there is an awesome new design, this idea of constant change and innovation means that nothing is here long term. Take a look at the Miami Vice uniforms. From 2017 to 2021, the Heat rolled out a series of alternate uniforms that paid homage to the iconic blue and pink colors from the TV show Miami Vice. These are not only a perfect representation of the city, but looked amazing as well and had such a unique feel compared to anything else in the NBA at the time. Fans immediately fell in love with them and continue to do so with each new edition that came out. These were so popular that they actually sold more Miami Vice themed jerseys than all of the Heat jerseys combined during the Big Three era. If you ask me, this was an obvious case where the Heat should have listened to their fans, rebranded, and made the Vice-themed jerseys their primary colorways. But this year, they retired the theme, which was such a disappointment. If they fully committed to the Vice theme and stuck it out for the long haul, they could have made them a truly iconic jersey in NBA history. Something on the level of the teams that I mentioned before. But this goes to show that if a team will commit to something as successful as this, then that means nothing is going to be sticking around long term. This means that we're going to get tons of more jerseys in the years to come. Most will suck, and the ones that are good will be replaced in a few years anyways. Until this process changes, we won't remember the vast majority of NBA jerseys when looking back at this era. And that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know your favorite and least favorite NBA jersey in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.